Very good question. It's a good time to remember everything I've done in the past. I worked in HR for many years, mainly as a recruiter, then coordinating an HR company, managing recruitment executive search. For the last years, I got into a new world, in the startup world. Before that, I had nothing to do with it. What probably led to this experience was working in the past as a recruiter with many companies and seeing their challenges from the first employee towards the 100 and plus one. You understand very well how the dynamics of the beginning looks like. And after several years working in the HR, I joined an MBA program. It was in Denmark. It was an MBA program with focus on impact, and that made it special for me, and that's why I chose that location to go there. And instead of pursuing a corporate job, that program actually changed my perspective about what I want to do. And what I wanted to do was, first of all, to have impact. It wasn't necessarily important for me, something related to career or salary increase, other aspects that probably would have been normal. So I pursued opportunities where I could have impact, improving quality of life for people. And I looked for small projects that I could grow and I could influence from the beginning. It was by chance, let's put it this way, after my MBA graduation, by chance I got into a medical project helping a neurosurgeon relocating from US to Romania to establish his activity here. Also looking for financial support from banking and investors. And it was the time when I could have contact with this part of financing your business. And this is actually how I got in touch with RDA, Northeast RDA, the Regional Development Agency. And by that time, I had no plans to relocate to Piatra Neamt or going back to the region. I just came back from Denmark. I was living in Bucharest. But in that time, discussing with the general director of RDA Northeast, we got into a sensitive topic for me. And that was, what opportunities do we create for the young generation, especially for them to become entrepreneurs. And it's not just about becoming an entrepreneur. It's about pursuing your dreams. When we are young, we dream to become superheroes and to help other people. And living in US and in Denmark, I could see that the young generation had this willingness to solve problems for many other people around them. And one way of doing it was to build a company that will bring a solution and would improve the life of those people. It could have been in health, in education, food access, so on and so forth. And coming back to Romania, the situation was similar to when I left Romania or when I left the region. That was happening 15 years actually before my first discussion with RD Northeast. And I knew they do a great job in attracting EU financing, and they were the leading agency in Romania on this topic. They had several innovative projects attracted, but still something was missing. And my pain was severe, and I expressed that. I said, if we don't do something to create opportunities for the young generation to develop themselves here at home, they either leave the country or they will never know what they could do in their life. And from that moment, we had probably like 6 months of discussing about this, and they were more interested about how I see things, and I was interested in how can they improve it. And that was the time when actually I started to think that HR or previous experiences I had could help in building something else. So after I joined RD Northeast, my objective was to find ways to help the young generation to have access to better education, better experiences, professional experiences at home. And since then, actually, the Rubik Hub vision, which actually got to life 2 years later, the vision started to build, to grow. And our vision today is to live in a world where everybody can reach their best potential and drive positive impact. And at that time, I didn't know I will go towards the startup scene. I was just looking how can we improve the entrepreneurial abilities. So I started to discuss with universities to see how we can grow programs in universities. And for doing that, I knew that I don't have the answers to all the questions. So I looked around for people that had experience in building startups, and I started to discuss with them. The first community was in Iași. At the beginning, I met Florin Cardasim. He is leading the National Tech Conference Code Camp. With his help, I got in contact with other startup people from Iași. Marius Ursaki was, again, one of the first people that wanted to give me hours for free, is what at that time was for me amazing. And from there, I realized that mentoring is something great that can help us all. And step by step, the community grew. More people were willing to help and help in finding ways in supporting the development of the young generation and to keep them at home. So the first community was in Iași. Then I started to expand the networking, and I came to Bucharest, and I started to meet here people. Bogdan Iordaki was one of the first people from Bucharest that I met, and he was very supportive, being one of the first that started startup programs in Romania. He had a lot of knowledge, but again, he knew very well the things that are not working, and he gave some very good advices on what I should expect, how I should prepare for the many no's I would receive when I would pitch about building startup programs, and that helped. And then I met Mircea Vadan, and this way I connected with the Cluj community, and I realized we are a handful of people willing to build this future for the young generation of entrepreneurs. And yeah, we decided to work together since then. Initially, I looked to how entrepreneurs are behaving in the region, the local entrepreneurs. I compared their actions and their business behavior with the behavior I've seen in US and Denmark. And I realized there is a lot of room for improvement, especially in the mindset of growing, in the mindset of scaling up. Very few from the local entrepreneurs were planning to scale outside Romania or even further than that. And that was, in my mind, it was a challenge for growing the local economy. If we stay in the same space, basically we just move around the money. The question was, how can we create products with value that would be appreciated and bought from outside Romania, outside Europe, so on and so forth. And initially I started these discussions with the local entrepreneurs, and I've noticed a lot of fear about unknown. And I was thinking that this fear would be passed over to the young generation of entrepreneurs. So initially I was thinking, how can we bring mentors, entrepreneurs that did scale to other international markets, and they would be able to inspire the local entrepreneurs and the future generation of entrepreneurs. So initially we had no programs. We had just this idea of helping the young generation to dream, to believe in themselves, and to start building. At that time, the tech was rising, but in the same time, the outsourcing was doing the same thing, and outsourcing was attracting most of the tech minds, which was great for that stage. But the tech people were not necessarily considering in building products and building startups, building products that would sell outside the country. So we wanted to work with those people that have those abilities of building, but didn't have the courage. They didn't believe too much in themselves. So we wanted to create a community of mentors that would give them confidence. So we started initially with building this group of mentors. Usually they were doers with experience in building startups, were working in international companies, and with events where we try to answer to all the questions people had about how is to build a product that would scale internationally, how is to build a team, what would make us, the Romanians, better than other nations. And that was a question that got me pretty upset, because we have so many things that we don't have to think small. We have to really believe in ourselves. And actually the time proved that right. We have so many successes since we started. It's always about the why. People would join, especially a mission like this that we started. Our mission was to bring people together and build communities, and together with them to support people starting building on their dreams and on their ideas to build startups. And in this process, we would be there to help them start, accelerate, attract investment, and scale up internationally. So in this mission, as I mentioned from the beginning, the important part was to bring people together, to bring the community of people that had the right experience to teach those ones at the beginning of this journey. And we believe that in schools, there is not much knowledge in Romania about entrepreneurship, the startup mindset in particular. So we have to bring the doers that would become the professors. So we have to build an alternative educational system. And the mentors that had success, they were happy to share with the people from back home. Most of the mentors at the beginning were from Romania, but then the community grew with mentors outside Romania, especially Romanians relocated in various corners of the world. So very soon our community of mentors became an international community. We have over 150 mentors, active mentors that are happy to answer to any question, need that a startup founder would have. So basically we're a group of 14 people in Rubik Hub, but we have a group of 150 mentors, amazing people that are giving their time for free, just to help the future generation of founders, especially coming from Romania. First of all, we are in the beginning stage of a startup ecosystem. We are just growing. And what I can say is that all startup enablers in Romania cannot run a sustainable business yet. It's very hard to find the financial budget to survive. That's why we have several projects in order to try to solve that. Same thing happened to us. And we realized we have to find a mix. And RDA Northeast was the best thing that could happen, because they could allocate some resources, and they were local, regional resources, financial resources. We cannot access European funds. So everybody believes that we are living on a pile of money, but it's the opposite. RDA believes so much in this project that they try to support it with financial resources from other sources than EU funding. And their support made this possible from the beginning. Otherwise, it would have been possible for sure, especially in our region. But later on, we wanted to grow more and more. We wanted to grow the programs. We started with programs in universities for students, workshop or two, maybe a hackathon of a weekend. But then this generation of people evolved. They needed an incubation program of 3 months. Then this generation again evolved. They needed an acceleration program, then a scale-up program to go internationally, a program where we bring investors in. So the program started to grow naturally. So did the costs. And at some point, of course, we exceeded the financial capacity that the agency could provide to us. So we looked into the private sector. And for the last 3 to 4 years, most of our programs we try to support with contribution from the private companies. But the story is a positive one from the beginning. When we found the space where we have the hub, RDA Northeast helped us a lot in getting that space. But they said we have no budget to make a space that would be usable. For that, we had to pitch and to go in the market to find partners that would be happy to contribute for something that was not existing before. So to ask money for building a hub where you would help startups, a topic that no one talked about, or it was very poorly understood at that time, was quite a challenge. And our budget was 125,000 euros. That was the cost to renovate the entire space and to build it to what it is today. And we managed to have success with that. We had Dedeman, Dynamic, 92, Autonom, companies from our region that were keen to support such initiative. And for us was the first validation. Having that happening, we realized from here is just work because people are ready to embrace what we want to do. So that grew to today. We work a lot with the private sector in attracting funding for whatever crazy idea comes in our mind, program related. And RDA is continuing to assure us the operational costs. It's an NGO focusing on public benefits. So it's an NGO that works independent from the political environment. It works under contract format with various ministries, and also it gets its financial resources from city councils from the region. But it's an NGO. Key. The answer is key. The discussions with the RDA from the beginning were so important to me. I didn't think that I will collaborate directly with the organization, but in my mind was I've met this person, the general director, that was open to listen for feedback. And finding that chance, I started to share and offload the frustrations actually that I had. So initially I thought I'm totally destroying this relationship. This person would not want to meet me anymore in the future. But the discussions continue happening. I was complaining about the fact we bring so much money into the region, but the evolution of the entrepreneurs and the evolution of the young generation, it grew, but in a much smaller ratio than the capital we were bringing in the region. So my suggestion was to focus on education experiences where especially the young generation would be exposed. And if we invest in the human capital more than into logistics, infrastructure, buildings, then this capital would be able to generate those money in the future and would not have to depend on external resources. We will be able to create our own money. It was a simple thinking process, but it was something that I felt I have to share. While I was living in the US, I could see kids selling lemonades. That we know, everyone we know this, in front of Walmart, or they were building things at home and they were selling those in local markets or in schools from young age. So they were learning entrepreneurship. They were learning how to play with the money, how to create the money. We didn't have those experiences, not even in high school. And I realized we graduate from a university and we have no entrepreneurial experience till that moment. And at that moment, we have to realize what we have to do in life. So we just start to open our eyes, professionally speaking, when we are about 22, 24, while others were doing this 10 years earlier or more. So this gap I believe is influencing the economical gap Romania is having and the region I'm coming from. And in order to build on this and shorten the gap, I believe this is not enough to bring money, but to create capacity into the region. And here was the matching point of my vision with Mr. Asande's interest in developing the region. And then meeting the entire team of RDA, I realized that was their mandate and agenda. So we matched. And this is how we started our collaboration. I moved back home after 15 years, never believing I would do that. But today I'm very happy to be there. And yeah, it's a dream happening. Being able to contribute to what you noticed in your environment as problems, and being able to contribute somehow to change it in a positive way. Living in those environments, I'm not saying that they are great and it's the perfect place where to go. But there are some elements that are happening in a way that I really, really appreciate. I appreciated how they happen over there. The way people start believing in themselves in US and how they are taught to do that, and I experienced it myself. I was just graduating from my master and I went for a J1 job in a visa and job in US as a recruiter. And I was the shy person coming from Romania, willing not to be seen by anyone, willing not to bother anyone, until they kept pushing me in doing things that I never believed I can do. For example, managing international relationships with their partners, discussing directly with them, calling them, asking for things. And they saw that I'm reluctant and they kept pushing me in doing it. And at some point, I became confident. I started to do it naturally. And I realized it was just that push that helped me to realize what I can do. Hence the vision, we want to help people reach their best version of themselves at home by giving them this type of experiences. In Denmark, I learned a lot about how people can have better success by collaborating, and not only in sectors, industries, but also I learned this concept, helix approach, where you have the most important pillars of society. You have the public administration, you have academia, you have private sector, civil society, all working together for finding better solutions for the society to work better. So that was the vision that RDA had it all as well. And I had it from this experience in Denmark. And from the beginning, we wanted to get everyone involved from all sectors of the society. Well, when I noticed that someone connected with the system in Romania, like RDA, was willing to build this program, I realized this is the most important leverage point. The private, it's easy to get them in this. Probably the academia, with time, you are able to do that. But to involve the system is not easy. So they are great, amazing ambassadors in connecting with the government, and they help since we started in this relationship in order to improve what is very important for any ecosystem, the legislative framework, the national programs, educational and not only, that can help the ecosystem grow. So yeah, I believe this government is very important, as well as city halls or RDAs in various regions. They can boost or block the growth of that environment. My answer is based on my personal experience or our experience at Rubik Hub, but also based on the experience from others that we learned from, like Brad Feld, wrote this amazing book, Startup Communities, and he started to build the Boulder, Colorado ecosystem back in early 90s. And he's saying that in his book, and I'm saying that as well. Everybody should be involved. So the local government, national government should be involved, and they're a key player in developing any ecosystem. But let the entrepreneurs lead the process. That's very important, because entrepreneurs have this practical approach. They have the experience, especially when we talk about startups. It's an entrepreneurial initiative. It's a business. So entrepreneurs know very well how to build an entrepreneurial mindset in an entrepreneurial ecosystem. But without public authorities, national, regional, local, without academia and civil society, you cannot succeed in building an ecosystem. So everyone is important, but let entrepreneurs build it. First of all, we talk about a large geographical space. Everything to happen just in one place would limit the growth of the larger space. You cannot consider that everyone would relocate to Bucharest. You would not want that, right? We have to decentralize the economical growth in order to create a stable geographical space, economically speaking. Then there are people in those scattered spaces across Romania that do not consider to relocate to Bucharest, but they are there, and their potential is live. You just have to take it to surface and launch it, make it shine as a business or as tech talent, but in their space. So Oradea, Cluj, Timișoara, us, we're proving that we have talent across Romania and worth all the focus and attention. Not to mention that everyone has a different approach. And that approach, of course, is adapted to the local needs. It's hard to decide from Bucharest what would work out in Piatra Neamt, Oradea, Timișoara, Cluj-Napoca. We know it better because we live there. And that's why for me it was easier to build this program in Piatra Neamt, in Romania. As any startup, you decide your beachhead market, the market where you start, and usually is the market that you understand the most and would help you to better connect with the needs of the people you are trying to help. Same happened to us. So if we wait for people from far away from our region to help us out, we might wait for a while, and even then it's very probably that they would not understand the needs that we have or the triggers people would react to. This is what made it work in Piatra Neamt and all other cities. Our drive and focus to help our home space, our better understanding about what are the blockers and what are the needs people have in order to grow. And in the end, everyone is concerned about their own problems and the problems around them, right? So we were much more motivated working in that space for that particular space. So I do believe in decentralizing the growth, giving resources to those cities, regions for this to happen. And we didn't have so much resources. What we had us together in this. And that was the lucky part for our ecosystem. If we would look to what would differentiate us from others, You see a lot of competition in other developed ecosystems, like in Amsterdam. If you take just Amsterdam, there are 180 startup initiatives. We're just a few across Romania, and from the beginning we collaborate. So when I knew nothing about startup, Bogdan Iordache, Mircea Vodan were there to help and help me in building programs, also meeting people that I needed for the programs we were building. That happens even today. We have this hashtag, we're in this together. Literally, I feel we're in this together. And I think this is what would differentiate us and would help us to grow faster than any other ecosystem, the collaborative spirit. And there is this program called Raw Startup, where we are trying to help Romania as an ecosystem. We realize that, yeah, it's great we work in these various environments, and we help Piatra Neamt, Cluj, Timișoara, Iași to grow, but we have to look at the larger picture, Romania. So Raw Startup is intending to bring all the players together, put our minds to work in order to identify what is necessary to put Romania on the global startup map. And this analysis to be created, made by the doers, but we need the implementers. And here we attracted the government. We said, we do the work in doing the research. We want partners from governmental structures in order to implement what we believe would change exponentially the growth in Romania. From legislation point of view and programs. So the Raw Startup initiative brought us together. I would say Raw Startup is owned by no one, just by us, the ecosystem. And it's an instrument for us to save time, to win time actually. What would take us to build in 5-10 years by being scattered around Romania should take us months. And European Commission and World Bank believe the same, so they joined this program. We pitched for resources and we got from European Commission specific financial resources for this program. They had no program for it, financial program, but they created it. And now this program is growing more than we dreamed. We will attract financing of 20 million euros. That will come specifically for Romania, just because we were able to work to collaborate as an ecosystem, and would be deployed in order for the startup enablers to be able to support startups across Romania. And it was done by us, the players, that 5 years ago we were just a handful of people dreaming to build more entrepreneurs in Romania. Now the perseverance and having a growth mindset is leading to this ecosystem success. But again, each and one of us are doing our own programs and we have our own journeys, but it's amazing we meet in this common ground where we work to improve Romania as an ecosystem. Everywhere are. What I believe we have, first and foremost, we have this collaborative spirit. Yeah, so it's a great asset that keeps us together and things are happening. Then we have diaspora, which is willing to help. If it was a negative thing at the beginning to have people leaving the country, now we have ambassadors and doers spread all over the world. So when you want to reach out know-how, networks, they can help us. And we see that through the network of mentors that we are having. So again, these are assets. The fact we have the Romanians that left the country, build businesses, or they got into top positions in various companies, they're willing to give back. The value of the know-how and experience they have, you cannot actually evaluate it to a number. What probably we would need more is to invest more in our capacity to dream big, be confident, be bold, and there is just one step to make everything happening. Do the first step. Start building. When we started Rubik Hub, everyone said, why would you build a place for startups when they don't exist? And in my head was exactly that why. We have to start from somewhere. The start has to be somewhere. So for us, compared with other cultures, it's very hard to do the first step when everyone tells you it's not safe, it's not leading you to anywhere, and we stop listening ourselves, our inner voice. We start listening more the outer voices, which we hope to change with the programs we're having. And every interaction we have with young kids, students, adults, I see them leaving the programs with a big smile. First and foremost, they discover that they should believe in themselves, they should dream higher, and they should start doing something. And I think this is the seeds that we're planting, all startup enablers in Romania. We have tech capacity, and that's an asset. So talking about startups, we have the people with the tech abilities. It's just the business process that we have to learn and the confidence to build products that would be appreciated and bought by people, not just from Romania, but from outside. Internet, the infrastructure of internet is again amazing, and everyone is appreciating. We have international mentors, startups coming to even Piatra Neamt, and they say, "Oh my God, the speed is perfect. I can build from here anything," and that's a strong asset we have to take in mind. Well, here I would mention another asset that came to my mind right now. The good thing is that we start from scratch to build ecosystems in our regions and the Romanian ecosystem. And we build it by benchmarking with top ecosystems in the world. And everyone is doing that. Our friends from Bucharest, from Oradea, from Cluj, from Timișoara, they look to international programs and how other top ecosystems did have success. Benchmarking with the best gets us aligned because we are in the same mindset and we follow similar strategies. But everyone has its own particularities. What we do, we believe a lot in building a full journey of programs. We started with events and community programs where we would inspire people to start and to believe in themselves and follow on their own ideas. Then those people, we realize we have to help them in starting their business and helping them to understand what are the first steps. So this is how we started the Rubik Edu program. It's an incubator where you just start and it's the journey towards building your MVP. Then we have the acceleration program. After you have your MVP, you want to scale it, to launch it to the market, scale it on other markets and attract investment. And in the last 2 years, we have developed the acceleration program. We focus on scaling up. For 2 years, we have the Scale Up to USA. This year, we have the second edition. So we have the startups that got traction, got investment, and they are ready to go over the ocean. We try to help them out with understanding the mindset from that market, mindset of the consumers, mindset of the investors, the dynamics of the market, and creating contacts for them to soft land. So we have this full journey. One of our last programs, dedicated programs, it's called Rubik Hub, is actually going all the way back to the beginning. In Rubik Hub, you learn how to pursue your dream, your passion, and build your startup idea based on your inner voice, what I was just mentioning earlier. So from building the right idea, the best idea for yourself, up to starting your business, accelerating to scale up and attract investment, now we have a full journey of programs. That was our approach, to go in this full spectrum. Others are doing parts of it, like acceleration and investment. Very probably in the near future, we will focus on verticals. This is the natural progress of an ecosystem. You start initially sector agnostic, not having particular sectors, but once you have startups and more specialized mentors, you start focusing on verticals. So very probably this will happen soon. We see it already happening. We start to prefer specific sectors. We care a lot about impact, so we look into climate solutions, educational, health, food. Others are going in fintech, crypto, so on and so forth. So we see already these differences appearing into the ecosystem. But the good part is we are mentors to each other programs. We share startups that we believe are better fit for the program of other players from the market. And again, this is the strong asset that I believe Romania would soon become, at least in the CEE, a strong ecosystem that would attract startups from the CEE. And we see it through our programs. In the last acceleration batch, we had startups from 20 countries. And it's not the success of the Rubik Hub team, it's the success of the ecosystem, because getting involved in the program, the VCs we have active, the founders of startups that started in Romania made actually the program appealing for those startups. Again, we're in this together. It's not just Rubik Hub from Piatra Neamt, it's the way we approach our programs. I'm looking to our experience. It's better to talk about what we have experienced. So our programs, first of all, they bring know-how to the local ecosystem, to people from the geographical space where we are in. We get a lot involved in educational programs in schools, in educational programs for local traditional entrepreneurs. But on top of this, we are influencing educational programs in universities. So we go up to the higher level of education. And working with professors, and the universities, they become more entrepreneurial friendly. We have positive examples of professors going abroad and learning about entrepreneurship. We have the Fulbright program, and we have professors from our region that are going there for the last 4 to 5 years. When they come back, they're our first contact into the university, and we start building programs with them. So education and experiences for the young generation, and that is key. On top of this, we bring investors in the region, investors that look for startups, but also they look around and they look to local businesses. And we have these positive examples where investors invested not necessarily in startups, but in local business where they saw potential, growing potential. We influence a lot the tourism. So when we have programs, you have over 100 people that are coming from Romania and outside, and over 50% of them are returning. We did the math. They are returning with their families later on. And this summer, for example, we've been visited. They are coming with their families. They work from the hub, where they go and enjoy the nature. The hub was full over the summer just because of the people that visited the hub through our programs, and they wanted to return. And this way you get visibility for the city. I do believe a city like Piatra Neamt, where you find all high school students or elderly people, now the society is getting more balanced. You see more young people coming back, or young families returning to Piatra Neamt. And I do see the hub an important player in their decision. Actually, they said, having this hub, having access to this community makes it easier for us to continue our careers. It's a very good question, and I really mean it. Because the answer is so simple, and because of its simplicity became too complex. Exposure. That's the most important thing to happen. Getting them exposed to that environment, first of all, meeting, talking to people from that environment, and then visiting, is unlocking their courage, is helping them in overcoming their fears. We believe that we are so small, and people living in US are 3 meters tall and way bigger, more muscles. When you go there, you realize it's not the case. And you can do that just by facing the situation. So exposure is key, and this is what we try to do with the startup founders. We have mentors from Europe and USA, and we have various office hours, but also workshops where they learn about various topics. But the most important thing is to meet the person, to meet the people, and to see that they speak as you do, they think as you do. We are very similar in many ways, and also we are different in positive ways. And you can learn that only by exposure. And that's why we dream to have this year the Scale Up program to US with the experience of going to US. Last year, everything was online, and we had partners from Silicon Valley that delivered all the workshops. This year, we'll also have partners from US, but we want to go there. It's a dream. We have zero money in our pockets for making it happen, but we believe it will happen because we believe it's solving a real problem. And it's an objective that we want to make it happen, and that gives us the confidence that it will happen. To have a specific date was May 2017, when we launched our hub, and we had the first tech and startup conference together with CodeCamp. And we had over 200 people coming. It was the time when officially we started talking about startups in Piatra Neamt. But things started to happen when we had our first members of the team. The team is the one that makes things happening. The team is the one that actually dreams. The program Scaling to US is the dream of the team that is actually accelerating startups. And I believe in that dream, and I'm supporting it, but it's their own dream. The same with Rostara program. I had this vision of people collaborating. I launched the snowball, but then the team started to dream higher than my dream, and they took it over, and they make things happening. So I believe the startup stage started to form in Piatra Neamt and in Rubik Hub once we had the team in place, motivated, more knowledgeable than I am, and with more energy to build things. And I believe that is the key also in building an ecosystem. You cannot do it yourself, one entity. You have to work with all the players, give them the stage to shine and to build upon on their dreams. And whatever happens in Piatra Neamt right now is thanks to the team and the community of mentors and partners that we are happening. So I think my role was just to initiate this, but then it's the community and the team that is taking it to a different level. We had so funny moments. I remember we were just a few people talking about startups and doing programs we were calling programs at that time, but now we realize they were just small initiatives. We knew each other by name. We could meet in a small room. There were no active acceleration programs at that time. It was no VC at that time active. We had just few programs, few angel investors. And the funny moments were when we were meeting, we were talking about the same 5 startups active in Romania. We knew them by name, by the pets they have, everything we could know about a person. That small was the stage. The idea is that, yes, they were. Just a few are still active. I would say Typing DNA was one of them. Clever Taxi was one of them. But I don't want to make this image about very few succeed and many fail, because it's real. And I don't want to discourage people. UiPath was starting to become larger than what we were calling a startup. I think in 2017 or 2018, I was in US when they launched in Miami. So I was there beginning, but they were already starting to become a phenomenon. Not yet unicorn, but they were quite big at that time. But they were a story that gave us confidence that things can happen. Exactly in that time, their growth started to happening. And it was a good story for using it with local entrepreneurs. We wanted to give examples, local examples, instead of bringing examples from successful startups from US or Europe. And we saw that students relate better with examples from their own environment. That's why we bring in our programs Romanian founders that are talking about their struggles as well as about their successes in an open manner, but at least they make it possible for local people to dream that it's possible for any Romanian. But at the beginning, yeah, the initial team of UiPath was very, very helpful. We had them involved in startup programs. Daniel Dinesh was, of course, busy in US attracting investments and doing the growth he managed to create for UiPath. But we had next layer of leaders in UiPath that were very active and supportive. And even today, they're part of the startup stage in Romania. So it's great to see this give back phenomenon spirit that we have. And this is what makes me believe that Romania will succeed. And it's already a hub that attracts startups from the CE region in the acceleration programs, but also for investors. And I believe this trend will continue growing and will become a magnet for CE and European startups as well. But in the same time, our programs are growing. Like the programs we're developing, we go in other countries where we attract local startup players in startups. So Romania will grow inside and also with programs outside. I think what will be needed, and it will happen, is at investment level to have partnerships with investors, institutional investors outside Romania in order to create the investment stage for Series A and later on investment stages in Romania as well. Right now the option is to go abroad. We dream that to happen here. But for that, we need the right legislation, and that's a call for action to our government. We need the right legislation and the right environment for investments to happen here as well. Even though the startups are scaling to other markets, which is normally, you cannot have just a market from Romania in order to grow economically and to become a unicorn. You need many other markets. So it's normal for a local startup at some point to have branches, offices all over the world. That's a normal thing. But as we see the UiPath example, they always give back. And they always have here headquarters or a strong team. And our startups are doing the same. Most of them are having their operational team in Romania, even though they're active in US or in Europe. With our startup project in place and happening, I'm confident that we will succeed as an ecosystem. The dynamic I could see in the last 2 years, so in 2020, when COVID started, we launched as well this program. During the 2 years of struggles, we had continuous meetings. 100 and more people were meeting constantly to decide what's the future. How can we create a better future for Romania in times where we were concerned about today? The fact we were looking to the long term and we came to create it gave me confidence that we have all it takes for making it happen. And I have all my respect for those people that in those times were coming together online to create the strategy for improving the environment for startups in Romania. In the same time, we had the World Bank joining, the European Commission supporting. In the same time, we actually were exposed in this project. We had successful ecosystems coming and sharing with us what they did in order to make things working. So we were active internally. The world was open to share with us. And now we have white papers. We have actually a strategy of how we can make Romania a better place for startups. We just wait for the implementers to make it happen. But the fact we saw those people so active and engaged, again, with no financial return or other extrinsic motivation, at that time, we believe that Romania has a strong chance to grow as a startup ecosystem. I believe we'll become an environment for startups, an environment where we'll create startups. Poland is becoming an environment where you can find investments or partners from the governmental structures. But I believe we will create the startups. And a strong sign for that is the fact that Poland VCs are coming to Romania, are willing to meet our startups, are coming to the conferences happening in Romania, willing to connect with the startups. And not only them, also investors from other environments are coming more and more interested in the startups coming from Romania. So it's a strong sign that the startups that were building in the last 5 years did a great job and they got attention of the investors. And it's a super positive sign. At the beginning, I remember when we were trying to get the attention of the investors saying, hey, you might miss some investment opportunities if you don't look to this environment. Can I send you some pitch decks? And I was always put on hold in those discussions. But now I see a more and more interest coming from Europe, at least. And we are creating the interest from the US as well, actively working on that. But I believe we'll become an environment for builders, for startup founders. And the good part is in Romania, you have so diverse problems at societal level that creates so many people willing to solve those problems in all sectors of life of a human being. And the diversity of the startups is quite high, I would say. And you can meet in one event a great startup in health tech, a great startup in nanotech, a great startup in med tech. Health tech is the same thing in climate. In one event, you can meet this diversity. And I think this will grow as the verticals I was mentioning, and the diversity of verticals, I believe, would also attract in Romania a lot of investments and diverse people willing to connect with these startups. We live right now a breakthrough moment. Is the time when the ice age is melting and humans are rising. This is what I feel. It's a historical moment and we're living it. So in the last 5 years, from nothing to the startups we're talking right now, it's an amazing thing to happen. Inception.